$500,000. Sounds like a lot of money, right? Most people spend their entire working life dreaming about hitting that number. They picture themselves at 60, no alarm clocks, no boss, finally free. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. For millions of Australians, $500,000 in retirement isn't freedom. It's a countdown clock. And most people don't realize it until it's too late to change anything. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what retiring at 60 on $500,000 actually looks like in Australia right now. Not in theory, not in a government brochure, but in real life, with real numbers, real costs, and the one calculation most financial advisors gloss over. And look, if you're 50, 55, or even 60 already, this is going to feel personal. That's the point. Because the gap between what people plan for and what retirement actually costs in this country has never been bigger. And the system isn't going to warn you. Here's the number I need you to remember. Keep it in your head the whole time you watch this. $51,630. That's what the Association of Superannuation Funds of Australia, ASFA, says a couple needs every single year for a comfortable retirement in 2024. Not rich. Not traveling business class. Comfortable. Groceries, utilities, a holiday now and then, healthcare. That number. Now hold that thought, because we're about to see what $500,000 actually produces and whether those two numbers ever actually meet. And spoiler, they don't. But the reason why is the part that surprises people. All right, so you've hit 60. You've got $500,000 sitting in your super. You hand in your resignation, and you feel good. You should. That took decades. Now, the first thing most people do is think about the 4% rule. You may have heard of it. The idea is simple. If you withdraw 4% of your savings each year, your money should last about 30 years without running out. 4% of $500,000 is $20,000 a year. $20,000. That's not modest. That's not comfortable. That's below the poverty line in most Australian cities. So straight away, the math has a problem. Now, some people say, wait, I'll get the age pension to top it up. And yes, that's true. But here's the catch. At 60, you cannot access the age pension yet. The eligibility age is 67. That means for 7 years, you're either drawing down your super faster than planned, or you're living on less than $20,000 a year. Let that sink in for a second. And that's just the income side. Wait until we get to what you're actually spending. This is the part nobody talks about, because the conversation around retirement savings always focuses on the asset. How much do you have? But it almost never focuses on the liability, what your life actually costs. Let's look at a realistic budget for a single 60-year-old in Sydney or Melbourne right now. Rent or mortgage. If you're not fully paid off, even modest rent in a capital city runs $12,000 to $15,000 a year minimum. Utilities, food, transport, another $15,000 conservatively. Healthcare, and this is the one that blindsides people. Once you hit 60, out-of-pocket health expenses climb fast. Private health insurance, dental, specialists, medications. We're talking $3,000 to $5,000 a year easily, sometimes more. You're earning $20,000 from your super, and you're spending $38,000 to $45,000. That gap isn't theoretical. It's coming out of your principal. Every single year. And here's where it gets worse. Inflation. It sounds like a textbook word, but here's what it actually means for your retirement. If inflation runs at just 3% a year, which is actually below recent Australian averages, your purchasing power halves in about 24 years. You retire at 60 with $500,000. By 84, if you still have any money left, it buys half of what it did on day one. But most people aren't going to make it to 84 with their savings intact, because there's a second invisible drain that hits right in the early years of retirement, and it's called the sequence of returns risk. Here's what that means in plain English. If the market drops badly in your first 2 or 3 years of retirement, say like 2020 or 2008, and you're still withdrawing money every year, you lock in those losses permanently. You don't get to wait for the recovery the way a working person does, because you need that income now. A 30% market drop in year 2 of your retirement doesn't just hurt. It can cut years off how long your money lasts. And this is the part nobody prepares for emotionally. It's not the number that breaks people. It's watching your savings fall when you can't do anything about it. No salary coming in, no ability to just work a bit more. That psychological weight is real, and it changes decisions. But the single biggest risk isn't inflation or markets. It's something much closer to home. Healthcare, aged care. These two words are where retirement plans go to die in Australia. The average Australian who enters residential aged care pays a refundable accommodation deposit, what they call RAD, of anywhere between $300,000 and $700,000, depending on which facility, which city, which level of care. On top of that, there are daily care fees, means-tested fees, and ongoing medical expenses. Now think about that. You retire at 60 with $500,000. If you spend it down at even a modest rate over 20 years, and then at 80 you need residential care, you may not have enough left to even pay the deposit, which means you go into the means-tested system, which means significantly less choice about where you live and who looks after you. And here's the thing nobody says in polite company. Most people don't plan for this because it's uncomfortable to imagine being old and dependent. So they don't. They plan for the good years, the cruises, the grandkids, the garden. In the later years, the harder years, they don't get a plan. They get a crisis. This is a system problem disguised as a personal problem. And understanding that distinction changes everything. So what does all of this actually mean for you specifically? That's what we need to talk about now. Let's bring this home. Right now. Because this isn't just a news story about some abstract retiree. If you're currently in your 50s and you have somewhere between $300,000 and $600,000 in super, here is your actual situation. You're not behind, but you're also not safe yet. The decisions you make in the next 5 to 10 years will determine whether $500,000 is a foundation or a finish line that comes too soon. If you're planning to retire at 60, expecting the age pension to bridge the gap, you need to know that a 7-year gap, drawing down capital at $20,000 to $25,000 a year, can cost you $150,000 or more off that balance before your pension eligibility even begins. That's not a minor detail. That is potentially the difference between running out of money at 78 and being comfortable at 85. And if you are renting in retirement, not owning your home, the math gets dramatically harder. Because housing costs don't shrink when your income does. This is the fastest growing financial vulnerability for Australian retirees right now, and almost nobody is talking about it loudly enough. Okay, so what can you actually do about it? Let's get practical. Here are the moves that actually matter. 1. Use the transition to retirement strategy before you fully stop working. If you're 55 to 60, you can start drawing a small income stream from your super while you keep working, even part-time. This slows your drawdown, lets you stay in the workforce partially, and extends your runway significantly. It's one of the most underused levers in Australian retirement planning. Point 2. Delay retirement by even 2 or 3 years if you can stomach it. Every extra year of contributions and every year of not drawing down makes a compounding difference that most people dramatically underestimate. Retiring at 62 instead of 60 can add tens of thousands to the longevity of your savings. 3. Know your age pension eligibility rules intimately. Asset thresholds, income tests, what counts, what doesn't. A good understanding of this, or a good financial advisor who specializes in retirement, can unlock thousands of dollars a year that you're legally entitled to but not claiming correctly. 4. Get real about housing. If you're a renter heading into retirement, this needs to be part of your plan, not an afterthought. Whether that's downsizing, relocating to a lower-cost region, or using the government's downsizer contribution to pump more into super. Housing is the single variable most likely to either protect or destroy your retirement comfort. 5. Plan for age care before you need it, not when you're 80. Now, know how the RAD system works, understand the means test, and consider whether your assets, including your family home, factor into what you qualify for. This is not a pleasant conversation, but having it at 60 is infinitely better than having it at 79 in an emergency. And 6, the simplest one, stress test your number. Don't just ask, do I have enough? Ask, what if I live to 92? What if healthcare doubles? What if the market drops 20% in year 3? Run the hard scenarios now. That's not pessimism. That's preparation. If any of this landed differently than you expected, sit with that feeling for a second, because that discomfort, that's actually useful. That means your brain is recalibrating, looking at your situation with clearer eyes. And that is exactly where better decisions come from. $500,000 isn't a sentence. It's a starting point. But only if you treat it that way, strategically, honestly, without the comfortable stories we all tell ourselves when the numbers get scary. The Australians who retire well aren't the ones who had the most money. They're the ones who understood their money the best. And that starts with conversations exactly like this one. If you want more breakdowns like this, the real numbers, the uncomfortable questions, the stuff that actually changes how you plan, subscribe and hit the bell. New videos drop every week, and they're all designed to give you an edge before you need it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.